I want to talk to you about something this week that I think we all struggle with at one point or another, and that's having enough time to paint. The question specifically was, I only have like 15 minutes at a time. What can I really do? Can I paint? I don't think that I can get anything of value done if I'm only painting 15 minutes a couple of days, maybe 3 to 4 days a week, right? I get it. We are all going to be going through different phases of our life at different times. The rules are going to change for us over and over again. Our schedules are going to change. Things are just going to get complicated. And I've been through many phases of those. I've had times, whether it be taking care of small children, running errands, emergencies, taking care of elderly parents, being sick, caring for someone sick, working outside, right? Whatever it is, there's always going to be something getting in our way of our painting, or at least trying to. And this is where we have to do a mindset shift. It takes a little practice, but I want you to think of it this way. If we don't prioritize things that make us feel whole and well and in a good mental state, which I know painting is for many of you, along with other things, right? Exercising, other hobbies, whatever it is. If we don't prioritize that, at least a minimum amount, haven't you noticed what it does for you? How it negatively impacts you, whether it be just in a bad mood, negative mindset, cranky, all around, right? It affects us. And think of it this way. When we are on a plane and they go through the safety check and they tell you if you're traveling with small children or someone elderly, put your own oxygen mask on first, right? You cannot give to others unless you're taking care of yourself first. It's basic. Think about it in that way. So back to the just having 15 minutes here and there to work. Here's what I'm going to suggest, because I've had to go through many of those times and they can be quite frustrating because you want to paint more. It's natural, right? We're just getting going after 15 minutes and it would make me really cranky to have to stop. But I had to do it because I had no choice. It was either don't paint at all or do that. And of course, I needed that time to paint. I needed it for me. And I know you do too. So here's a couple of things that help. If you are able to have a dedicated place, now it doesn't even have to be a full-on studio like I have here. I did not start that way. I started on my dining room table. We had a formal dining room in our house and then an eat-in kitchen, right? And you don't eat in the formal dining room most of the times if you've got small kids and family, busy life, right? So I made that my permanent temporary setup, if that makes sense. Like I could take everything off in a jiff if we had to have like a big gathering. But for the most part, my plastic thing went over and I kept my things out. And that means keeping my bucket of water, keeping my paint spread out, keeping a couple of canvases that I'm working on or things, some supplies out. So every time I walked by, it would do something really good to my mind, even if I knew I couldn't paint at that moment, right? It stays in the forefront of your mind. And that puts deposits, and then you're going to find that you will naturally work towards getting back to that paint time. How can I do it? What can I squeeze in some time, right? And there are times where you can squeeze in 15 minutes and you go, oh, I can take another 15 minutes. And before you know it, you've got 30 minutes, right? And that's always a bonus. But on the times that it didn't, it still was a lot of value. So if you add up those 15 minutes let's say, it's 4 times a week, right? Or 3, even 3. Well, that's 45 minutes, 3 days a week that you would not have had if you kept the mindset of, well, if it's not 4 hours, then it's a waste of time. Because I used to do that. And I blew so much time, right? And then I get to the 1 4-hour block, if I was lucky enough, like maybe on a Saturday, and I'd paint, I would get stuck a lot more than I would if I had kept a continuous rhythm, right? So, and then who knows when that next 4-hour block would be. Sometimes 3 weeks would go by, and that was frustrating too. So try this. Let go of that all or nothing mentality, right? We tend to tense up. And if you think of it like someone learning golf or tennis or any sort of sport where the coach is always saying, all right, you got to loosen up. You got to just like let it flow through you. When you're tight, it just doesn't come out. And painting is like that too. You have to relax into it. And part of the relaxing is doing it on a more consistent basis. Even 15 minutes. After a certain amount of time, let's say, 3 weeks you're doing it, your mind starts to ease up about, squeezing that brush really tight or whatever it is that you're doing, because you only have 15 minutes and it has to count, right? It starts to ease up and you get this internal recognition that, okay, this is my time. I'm, no expectations, no judgment. I'm just gonna do it. And that's a really crucial part of letting go and developing a paint practice is just finding time where you can, right? That plants seeds in your mind to, without realizing it, find more time. And when you have that station set up already, you're not using that only 15 minutes you had to set it up and get things ready, and then you're out of time. It's there, and you just drop in, make a mess for 15 minutes, walk away, let it dry, stick your brushes in water, come back later. If you have time to wash the brushes, then you do it, or come back later, But I always kept a clean bucket of water next to my paint and, something semi set up where I could just drop in. Even if I didn't feel like painting with paints, I'd have my pastels, my markers, my oil pencils all out just to, scribble and do things on there. And it kept my mind in this creative flow. And you will see if you can do that, if you're struggling with time, do something where you can have a setup that allows you to just drop in and drop out when you need. And you don't feel guilty. It eases that tension and that stress of not being able to paint. And it's gonna plant seeds in your head about how you can go deeper and do more, right? And that's ultimately what we want. So give that a try. But the real key is you can't judge yourself. You can't let yourself feel guilty about what you can't do. Just make the time count. And you're gonna see that's gonna be the catalyst of change in your entire art.